Welcome back to another episode of Palisade Radio. This is your host, Colin Cattell. Today we're speaking to a new guest on the program, serially successful mining investor and CEO of U.S. Gold Corp, which is listed on the NASDAQ under USAU. Under full disclosure, I do own shares of U.S. Gold both personally and through my company, Palisade Global. Our guest today is Ed Karr. Ed, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, I want to talk to you big picture on gold starting out. And as you well know, there are two ways to make money as a gold mining investor. The first is to have a discovery, and I'm talking exploration side, of course. The other way is to play the trend and get in at the bottom of a cycle and ride it up. Of course, if you get the two mixed together, that makes for a dream situation of capital appreciation. And you've done very well in both situations, Ed. I want to get your feeling on where we're at in the current gold cycle.
Yeah, great point. I think we are certainly, as a company, trying to do our best here to come with a discovery as an exploration company. But, as you pointed out, for all your listeners, you really need to get the timing right in this cycle as well. And as we know, in the natural resource and gold exploration cycle, a rising tide lifts all boats. So, where are we? Here we are, early February 2018. Gold is actually starting to catch a pretty good bid, as are the precious metals right now. And why is that? We've seen the U.S. dollar really start to decline here in 2018. It's down about 17% on the index year to date. And that's putting some money definitely into the precious metals. We've seen volatility increase in the last couple of weeks. A lot of people starting to get scared as the VIX has been rising, and some big intraday swings in the equity markets around the world. So it's looking good for precious metals. We're also starting to see reinflation around the world. You're seeing that in wage data. You're seeing it in the CPI statistics, the PPI statistics. So I think 2018 is going to be a great year for gold. If we can break through this 1350 level where we are right here today, I'm very bullish. I think we can go to 1400. And then if you look at the technical analysis and a lot of the charts, if we get through that, I really think we could, in time, get up to the $1,700 range. So I think this is a great year to be in precious metals and to be looking at the junior exploration sector.
Ed, you mentioned inflation. I've seen something that I haven't ever seen before, in fact, which is if you look at all the headlines, CNN, Fox, Drudge Report, the number one story yesterday was inflation rearing its head. And as gold investors, that's something we've been talking about for a long time. And we've been saying, if you look at the shadow stats, the inflation is there. But of course, we wanted to see the inflation show up on the government statistics for however bad that they may be. So it looks like that's finally happening now. Do you expect that that's going to pick up and continue?
I think it will. I think that most of the central banks around the world are behind the curve. The U.S. Federal Reserve is going to start leading with a round of interest rate tightening. So we're looking anywhere probably from 3 to 4 interest rate increases this year from the Federal Reserve. I'm sure they'll give us 25 basis points in March. But if you look at the BOE, if you look at, the ECB, other European banks, they're still have the pedal to the metal on the quantitative easing. And, the economies in Europe are not quite as robust as they are in the United States, but we're still getting inflation out there. So I think inflation is really going to start to rear its head this year. A lot of the central bankers have been worried about deflation, and you watch how quickly this story is going to change from a deflationary sort of fear to an inflationary spiral. And I don't think we're going to get into hyperinflation, but getting back into a 3, 4, 5% sort of inflation range, I think is very, very doable. It's going to happen very quickly, especially with tight labor markets. And we're going to see that in a lot of the statistics this year. So that'll be a good environment for gold.
Ed, when looking at the junior miners, January of 2016 marked the end of what was the worst bear market in these mining stocks, arguably in 100 years. But beyond that initial move, which lasted about 6 to 8 months, the performance has been lackluster. If you're a junior resource investor, your stocks maybe have been getting beaten up rather than going up the last 12 to 16 months. And, you look back at a time like 2002 to 2007, which was just an incredible time to be an investor in these stocks. And it's hard to imagine getting back into that mode, but certainly something like that must be just around the corner, no?
It really is. It really is. And it is a cyclical cycle, as we all know. So like Kenny Rogers sings, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And if you had the foresight and could have folded them at the end of 2011, now's the time that you should definitely be getting back in, starting to accumulate. And I think it's the beginning of a big commodities run. Commodities tend to run in 3, 4, 5 year, bull market upswings. And I think 2018 is really going to be the start. Now, a lot of us in the industry have been saying this for a couple of years. There have been a couple of false starts, but it's really looking positive right now on all different fronts out there that I think this bull market's going to be quite powerful, and it's going to have a real good run for the next several years.
How about the ramifications of a cycle and a bad cycle? Why big bear markets breed big bull markets? Exploration has not seen very much funding at all. There haven't been very many discoveries because of how low the prices have been of the commodities and how little interest has been going into funding these things. Certainly that's going to make this an even bigger cycle on the exploration side.
Yeah, I would absolutely think so. And when you look, this industry is just such one of booms and busts. And the big major producers, they always tend to kind of gorge on the all-you-can-eat acquisition buffet at the absolute worst time, usually at the market tops. They take on a lot of debt. They make acquisitions. Then the markets roll over. They have to retrench, get their balance sheets back in order, diversify assets. Exploration comes to an absolute standstill, and the big majors kind of hold on for several years with their existing resources. But being the mining industry, as we know, they're depleting their resources on a daily basis, and so they need the exploration. They really, really, really need it. So I think that not only will we see the commodity prices start to increase, I think we'll see a new wave of M&A that'll come into the sector, probably starting, next year in 2019, 2020, things will really heat up.
Ed, I want to talk to you in particular about U.S. gold. You've got 3 projects, 2 of them in Nevada in the exploration stage, and then you've got a development project in Wyoming. Very good, strong portfolio. First of all, why are you focused on those jurisdictions, the U.S.?
Well, look, Colin, we think there couldn't be a better place to be out exploring for gold. The United States is a very safe geopolitical jurisdiction. There's tremendous infrastructure in both Nevada and Wyoming, where we're located. Both Nevada and Wyoming are very mining-friendly states, so there's a real process to move forward for permitting, for putting mines and deposits into production. So we're real excited about that. And we believe that there's still tremendous exploration potential. So that's really why we're focused on Nevada and Wyoming with our 2 projects.
Recent results just out via news releases. Ed, can you touch on what's developing on both those projects and what we can look forward over 2018 in terms of exploration?
Yeah, I'd be really happy to. So U.S. Gold Corp, we have 2 distinct projects in the company right now. Let's start off with Copper King. That's in southeastern Wyoming. Our claims at Copper King are on all state of Wyoming land, so it makes it very easy to deal with the permitting process there. Copper King is a real nice deposit. We have an existing resource. In fact, we had MDA, Mine Development and Associates, recently update our PEA, Preliminary Economic Assessment. That shows a net present value on the deposit at $1,275 gold and $280 copper of $178.5 million. So nice deposit. We're looking there at about the existing resources, 1.1 million ounces MII gold and 300 million pounds of MII copper. And we actually drilled 4 holes at Copper King at the end of 2017. We put out a press release on that recently, those results. One of those holes was a 200-meter step out from the existing deposit to the west, chasing an IP anomaly. So on that step out hole to the west, we hit real nice mineralization.
consistent grade of low grade, but very consistent grades of gold, copper, zinc, and silver. And I got to tell you, the zinc and silver were a nice surprise for us. Dave Mathewson has gone back, looked at a lot of the historic data from the Copper King deposit, and it seems like the prior operators there have never assayed for zinc or silver in the main zone. So that's certainly going to be an area for us to follow up here in 2018. So we got a couple things we're going to do now with this new discovery zone. Number one, we plan to infill drill from this hole back to the main zone to try and add more ounces of gold, pounds of copper. Number two, the best part of our IP anomaly is even further west. So we're going to step out a little further west and continue to drill there, hopefully continue to hit more mineralization. And the third thing we'll do is use all this new data to upgrade our existing PEA at Copper King. We'd like to move that to a full pre-feasibility study by the end of this year and ultimately try and permit this towards production. So Copper King's very exciting. You know, we've got a very, very robust project here, IRR currently of 33% on it, but we have shown that it has blue sky exploration potential to grow. So that's Copper King. Let's switch now to Nevada. In Nevada, our flagship property is called Keystone. And Keystone is a district-scale exploration property located on the prolific Cortez Trend. It's about 10 miles south of Barrick Gold's Cortez Hills complex. Keystone has been identified and consolidated by Dave Mathewson as a real long career in Nevada, has had a lot of discoveries and tremendous success. So Dave Mathewson believes that Keystone is one of the biggest systems he has seen in Nevada, and trust me, Colin, he's seen almost all of them. So Keystone, we just put out a press release recently announcing the result of our 2017 fall scout drilling program there. In 2016 and 2017, we have drilled a total of 14 holes at Keystone. Combination of core and RC. These are pretty deep holes, down to 2,000 feet. In addition to the drilling, we've done a tremendous amount of work. We've done mapping, geophysics, geochemistry, soil samples, stream samples, etc. So Mathewson is using all of this information to right now synthesize real targets for us in 2018. And the drilling up until this point, as I said, it's been scout drilling. So Mathewson has wanted to see, do we have the right host rocks? Do we have the right stratigraphy? Is Keystone even capable of hosting a major world-class gold deposit? And the answer is absolutely yes. We have had 2,000-foot intercepts of the right rocks, tremendous alteration, brecciation. We've seen anomalous gold in the rocks. We've seen off-the-chart arsenic. So we know there is a major gold system at work on the property. And our challenge and the opportunity right now for U.S. Gold Corp is to try and drill in 2018 into one of these high-grade feeder zones. At Keystone, over the last 2 years, we've been operating off 4 NOIs. Those notice of intents are permits with the BLM that give us a 5-acre disturbance on each permit. So we've only had 20 acres of disturbance on a 12,000-acre land package. It's teeny. It's like a pimple on a human body. Now, this year, we're filing an EA and POO, so a plan of operations. We expect we're going to get that this year before our 2018 field season, and we will have the entire property to work on. So we got 3 things in our favor right now. We've got the information from 2016 and 2017 with the drilling, the geophysics, the geochemistry. We'll have the permits to move everywhere we want on the property. And the final thing we have is the money. So we just closed recently a $5 million financing. We're very well cashed up. We have today about $8.5 million in cash. We have no debt in the company. And that's going to give us a pretty aggressive exploration budget at both Keystone and Copper King in 2018. At Keystone alone, we plan to drill this year 20 to 25 holes. So considering in the last 2 years combined, we've only drilled 14, we think this is a real exciting year and a real exciting time for U.S. Gold Corp. And we are trying this year to vector into one of these high-grade feeder zones and come with a major discovery.
Ed, discoveries in Nevada can catch a serious premium against just about any other jurisdiction in the world. And if a project anywhere in the world is getting $100 an ounce in a takeover, Nevada can sometimes get up to $500. We've even seen $1,000 an ounce in the last cycle, which is a pretty crazy premium. Now, you did mention the depth of these holes because a lot of the easier finds in Nevada have already been made in the past. But if you can find something, it doesn't make sense to explore anywhere else if you're certain you can find something in Nevada.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I would certainly encourage you, Colin, to get Dave Mathewson himself on one of your future radio shows and podcasts, because he can tell you he believes there's a tremendous amount of gold still waiting to be explored in Nevada. And it takes time. Gold exploration is a process, but once you actually make a discovery, one of the reasons these Nevada ounces get such a premium is that the majors, the Barricks and the Newmonts of the world, have so much capex in the state. You know, between the two, I believe they have over $3 billion of capex. So not only are there mines, there's processing facilities, there's trucks, there's equipment, and they need those ounces. You know, they really do. So they're willing to pay up for real discoveries, you know, whether it becomes a Cortez Hills that Barrick bought from Placer Dome or a Long Canyon, you know, that ultimately Newmont acquired. These valuations can be very exciting on big discoveries.
Now, finishing up here, Ed, investors might be intrigued by the fact that you're listed not just in the U.S., but on the NASDAQ. That's, of course, very unusual for an exploration and development company. But I think I see the strategic value there. I remember in the last cycle, when the money really started coming into gold, those companies that had a U.S. listing far outperformed. And that makes sense because there's so many more Americans and Americans with E-Trade and Scottrade accounts than there are Canadians or people with access to Canada. That must have gone into your thought process on listing on the NASDAQ, correct?
Yeah, without a doubt, it really did. I mean, the U.S. markets, especially the NASDAQ, are some of the deepest, biggest, most liquid capital markets in the world. We have a very, very tight capital market share structure. Today, we have just over 17 million shares, fully diluted, issued and outstanding. So, you know, when we look at that, I think we're about somewhere north of $2 today on the NASDAQ. Our stock trades quite well. And we think with this tight capitalization structure, we're not a typical 300 million shares out with a 30-cent stock. So if we can come and prove up a major discovery at Keystone, it could give the stock a lot of potential to run. And U.S. markets can be very, very favorable for liquidity, can be very favorable for capital raising. So we're extremely happy with our NASDAQ listing.
Ed, for any investors that want to find out more information, they can, of course, go to usgoldcorp.gold. Is there any other way to get in contact or ask questions directly?
Yeah, really the website is the best avenue. So people go on there, they can send us emails, send us requests for more information. I would certainly encourage everyone to go onto the website and sign up for all the news releases and information and continue to watch the story. You know, we're real excited with our prospects and where we are here in 2018, both from the macro point of view. I think this market's ready to take off, and from our prospects. You know, really excited about our new discovery, Copper King, and we are really trying to come with a discovery this year at Keystone. So definitely continue to watch U.S. Gold Corp.
Ed, always a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for coming on the show. We'll have to get you back on here at some point in the future, hopefully on the back of a major discovery there at Keystone. Thanks for coming on.
That'd be great, Colin. Thanks so much. Thanks for all the support from you and the Palisade team, and appreciate the interest in U.S. Gold Corp.
Think you understand the junior mining sector and you think that the participants in the mining sector, junior mining sector, are good people and kind people, hit the bid.
How violent that term could be? It actually could be quite violent. It could be a rip your face off uranium rally.
And the world is always going to need raw materials. It's going to need copper and gold and nickel and so forth.
Totally destabilized. Hey, Troll, did you hear what's going on in Yemen?